Okay, so I'm gonna be doing another DIY project today, and what I'm working on is a fuzzy windscreen cover for my SE Electronics ProMic Laser. The manufacturer doesn't make one, and so the ones that are online seem to be made for mics that are a little bit larger diameter than this, and I didn't want to take the chance of buying a $80 or $90 windscreen cover, which seems ridiculous anyway, and then having it not fit. So I've got this guy. This is the original one that comes with it in the package. It's a very high PVI foam, meaning it has a lot of very, very small pores per inch. It works okay. It certainly fits nice on here. Better it's made for it, right? But I want to do something that's a larger diameter. So I started with this. I bought two of these ZooMed 501 mechanical filter sponges. And it says item number TC702. So ZooMed is like a brand, I guess. They make some pumps and filters for turtles and fish tanks and stuff like that. So I bought two of them because they're a little bit short and I'm going to use them together. But the benefit to them is they already have the right diameter for what I wanted, which is about 2 1/3 inches. And they already have a hole in the middle, which is a little bit smaller than what I need. So it actually fits right on there. I may have to bore it out more to get better sound if it's like too compressed maybe in the middle, but I'm going to try it without it. So we'll see how it goes. And then my fur, I'm going to use this Doris Craft fur, which I got at the local fabric store. I bought it at the Joann's. And it doesn't look like it's when it's laying down, but when you kind of comb it up, it's pretty long actually. It's a couple inches long, and I wanted something sort of light and combable. That would stand up a little bit like this. Supposedly, from what I saw, these are the ones that work better. So my first step here, basically, I had two like this, right? That's how it starts. It's a little bit short. And basically what I just did is I put it on here, and then I held the other one up here to see how much I needed of this. And then I took my serrated bread knife, maybe not the best use for it, but we'll watch it later. And just put it on there at the right spot, and then sawed right through it. So now I have this little donut, and I have this full-size one, and this just slips right on here, and this one over the top. And what I'm going to try to do is kind of a couple steps along the way. I'm going to see what this sounds like on a fan with my basic foam, and then now with this giant foam piece, and see if it makes a difference just like this. And then I'm going to try to add the fur to it and see what kind of difference that makes. We'll try this out and let's do some sample sound real quick. Alright, so I've set up a fan here. You can kind of see that at the edge of the screen. I'm going to take audio on my camcorder as well here, but I'm actually recording on an external recorder that I borrowed, and I've got hooked up to my microphone here. So I'm going to switch over to the audio from this microphone so you can hear it, and then do it with the fan. So let's start with no cover. Alright, so this is me speaking towards the microphone with no cover on it. And now I'm going to do the wind test. I'm going to try to hold it about the same distance from the fan as I am from the mic right now. Alright, enough of that. So now I'm going to do it with the fuzzy screen. Okay, now I have the basic foam cover on it, and I'm going to point it towards the fan. Alright, now we give you a little sample audio on the side so you can hear it, just in case you want to do a comparison. Regular fuzzy mic windscreen in the sideways orientation. Okay, now I'm holding the mic in the same place, and we can compare levels for where I hear my voice again. And I'm going to go ahead and turn on the fan. I'm going to point it over there. side too here. This is from the side with my new larger diameter foam. Alright, so my next step here, I'm going to take this remaining piece, which I'm not using yet in the final design, and I'm going to try to, what I want to do is make a round cap on the end here. And so what I'm going to do here with this remaining piece is slice it in half. I'm going to slice it in half this way, and then try to round off what remains. Let's just say sawing through this isn't super easy. I really don't want to cut my fingers. Alright, so now you can see it. What I have is just half of this guy here, sliced in half. And you can see it, just visualize it. I'm just going to put it right here on the end. And now I'm going to shape off this extended part so that it's nice and round on the end, hopefully. I don't know how good it'll come out, but it'll be covered up by the fur anyway if it's not perfect. So I'm hoping all this will stay together too without any sort of glue. I don't want to introduce anything to it which might make the acoustics not work right. If nothing else, I might use a little spray glue or something since it's just foam, but I'm hoping when I make my sleeve it'll just wrap it and hold it all together. So now the shaping. I'm going to go in here and just start trying to cut off little pieces to get my shape right. Alright, so after a bit of experimentation with the bread knife, for the curved work, definitely you want to switch to scissors. So my result now, I've got this rounded end. It comes from just one of these, shaped up, and now it's sort of like a half sphere that fits right on the end of my existing foam, and then with my secondary piece it will cover the full length of the microphone. So now I'm just going to work on getting my fur cut into the right pattern so that I can sew it and sleeve it, and then we'll show the secret sauce, which will be the diaphragm on the back. So the design's coming together. Alright, so I've done a couple steps here. So the first thing I've got is my fabric. I'm taking it out of my package, and on here I've marked a line. So what I've done is I simply took my foam that I've cut out now, I lined it up where there's a little notch actually, because this has a little hole in the middle, and so I filled it up with foam, but I can see it. It makes it easy for me to roll this and see how it fits in there. Or you could just take a string or a cable and wrap it around there and measure it. I find that this is about 7 3/8 of an inch around, depending on how tightly you want to do it. And so I've marked my line of how big the actual foam is, and then I've made another line for an allowance to remind me that I need to have some extra fabric there so I can actually have a seam that I can sew together. And then I've got my pattern here. I don't know, I guess I could maybe post a link to this on Picasa or something if you need this image, but basically all I did was I found this pattern on silverseams.com, I think it was, for a 4-piece sphere, and what it is it's just one shape on the pattern. And then I went into Photoshop and basically just resized the pattern so that it would be 1/4 the size of the diameter across. In other words, the 4 widths of these shapes all add up to be how big the foam is around in circumference. And so by sizing it in Photoshop though, I can get it so it prints out in the actual exact size, and I know what I'm going to get exactly when I print it out. So I basically just multiplied 4 layers, sized them up the right way and printed it out, and then cut out the shape. And then I actually went here and tested it, which is probably a good idea. You can wrap it around your foam and then curl in the flaps and make sure that they meet at the top. And then don't forget, so you're going to mark this on here, this is where your seams are going to be to get the correct dome shape here. But then you'll have to allow, say 3/8 of an inch or whatever, extra fabric on the outside of it so that you have something to actually sew your seam into. And so now I'm going to go do that. I'm going to jump over to where I have access to a sewing machine. I'm going to sew that, but I'm not going to videotape it. If you don't know how to use a sewing machine, you can obviously sew it by hand. It's just a little bit more tedious, and you can learn online how to sew. So anyway, I'll be back, and hopefully I'll have everything sewn up into like a sleeve, which I can flip, turn around. Of course, you sew it inside out. Flip and turn it onto the shape here, and I'll see what I have. All right. Alright, so we're back. I got a little delayed on the sewing part of it, so had to change here and everything. It's the next day, but I got my thing done, and we're going to do a little bit more testing with the fan so you can see what we've got. So this is not 100% done. I'm going to make a gasket or whatever you want to call it for the back of it, but I don't know if it'll affect it that much because the foam is actually fitting pretty tight around the body. So how did we get here, right? I cut my pattern, or I marked my pattern on the fabric back with a Sharpie, and then I cut around it with some leeway, maybe 1/4 of an inch, 3/8 of an inch, and then you go through and you sew together each pair, and eventually it makes like a dome shape, right? And then of course you sew the seam down the side, and then when you've got everything sewed, you can trim off any excess that you don't want, and then flip it inside out. I found that I had to sort of stuff the foam into it and compress it to get it to start to flip around because it's real tight, which is how it should fit. But yeah, I'm thinking it'll work pretty good. It came out nice and fuzzy like I wanted it to, which evidently is kind of what you want. It doesn't seem to shed too bad, which is good too. So let's do a quick audio test, and we'll get this thing set up here. So you already heard it with no cover on it at all. I'll play that back for you again real quick. All right, and now we have our fuzzy windscreen cover on here, and I got it turned on. All right, so this is what it sounds like with the microphone on it, or the fuzzy windscreen on it, so you can hear like if there's quality loss or whatever you want to call it for a voice. It probably sounds better like this than it does from my camcorder microphone because it's so much closer. But anyway, this is what I sound like with the screen cover on, and I'll turn myself to the side. You can kind of hear what you're hearing from the side angle. And now let's get some sample with the wind. So this is straight on, and it's definitely picking up the noise from the fan, but it doesn't look like it's getting any distortion by the indicators from a head-on angle. If I turn it to the side, it definitely looks louder, but I'm still not getting any distortion. It doesn't look like I'm getting any of the wind pressure getting through there. So the fur is working good. And yeah, back to the front here, it looks great. And then now let's turn it around, see if anything is getting in the back. So that's straight from the rear of the angle, which would possibly need a diaphragm to fix, but boy, it looks like it's performing pretty well right now. So for $10 of materials, which is just 2 pieces of foam and this little piece of fabric that you can buy in the store, and some thread, I guess, if you had to buy some thread and a needle. But this is even without anything on the back. I'm going to use either a silicone cupcake thing and glue that on the back maybe, or possibly it's called a pinch cup. It's also made of silicone. I'm just going to drill a hole in the back, and I'll show you that in a few minutes too. I'm gonna get that done and glued on, or whatever you want to call it. But even like this, it works great. I might even post just the finished version in a separate little video, like 30 seconds long. But even just like this, it seems to work great. So if you want a quick project for something that fits properly on your laser mic, it costs almost nothing compared to the ones that are out there, like the rycotes and stuff. I bet this works exactly as good as theirs. So anyway, hopefully you enjoyed this, and keep looking at my channel for more stuff that I built or more stuff that I'm testing. All right, bye.